Do you want a UN job? Ever wondered what it takes to work in the UN? Today, I have here my dad, who works for the UN. He's worked for the UN for some time. He's going to tell us the details, how long he's worked, what was it like, how many times did he try, what are the benefits, what are the cons, and yeah, how can we also do the same if we're interested. We've had this conversation before because me, I was never really interested in UN, to be honest, but one day recently, just last year, I got interested. For the first time I got interested. I was like, I want to work for the UN. And then I called you. And then we talked for like an hour. You're telling me all these things. And then I was so excited. I was even taking notes. And then I was like, I think I should share this information. Yeah? And you know, since then, actually, for me, my interest has kind of died down. I had so much, so much gas, but it's kind of reduced now. But I thought we might as well share because I think it will be helpful to someone else out there.
Okay.
So, Daddy, can you first start by introducing yourself? Who are you? And
Thank you very much, Sise. My name is Gabriel Tibayungwa. I'm a Deputy Chief Security Advisor for the Central African Republic. There is a UN mission, and that's where I'm working for the last coming to 8 years.
8 years in Central Africa.
Yes. And on my whole career of about 16 years in the international job, I think half of it is in Central Africa. Prior to that, I had worked as UN police. That's 2 years. We can also add it to the UN and say 18 years. And so my working life includes the 20 years
in Uganda Police.
With Uganda Police, 18 years now with the UN. So I think that's the experience. And I would say it's a nice job. I've liked it. I like the pension arrangements for it.
You're telling us the pros now?
Yes, already, because for me that's what I'm seeing. Because I tried several times to join the UN. From my career, immediately I joined the Uganda Police.
Hold on, Daddy. Yes. I think let's first go in order. For starters, what's your educational background? Because people might be interested to know that. Did you study some special thing that's somewhere we don't know about? Was it some university abroad? Like,
no. I did all of it in Makerere University. And
what was it that you did?
This was social sciences, a bachelor's degree. Yes, later on followed by a master's degree in human rights. And yes, that's the background. That was my profession. But as maybe people will come to learn, the first degree is always not that. It is the beginning of learning. Having completed your first degree, you can enter any field. You can fit in any field. You can go in public health, you can go in security, you can go in risk management. My business is risk management. Yeah, of course, based on my police background. Now I'm managing risk of security. There are many other risk managers.
That's so interesting.
Yes.
You know, a big part of my job is risk management as well. It's just that we call it a different thing. For us, risk means risk to yourself, risk to others, risk to your health. Like, that's a very big thing you have to talk about. If you see a patient, you must have a risk. You have to do a risk assessment,
right,
and a safety plan as well.
Even in the banks, they have risks. In businesses, they have risks. Risk management is all over. Okay. But mine, security risks.
Security risks.
Things that can harm us. Yes, those are threats, and the likelihood of them harming us and the impact. Those are the issues which we look at. That's my profession, which I have been in for, from 2008.
Okay. And you got your first job in the UN, but not as the UN. You've said UN police. What does that mean? Yeah,
UN police. These are like experts on mission. We belong to our country, Uganda Police. Then we are seconded to the UN. We go there and work.
Are you considered local staff? Is that what they say?
No, not local staff. You are considered government provided, like contingents. You go as a contingent and you are giving support Yes.
Are you like a consultant? Or?
Some sort of.
But
nearly
you're
like a
not
consultant.
like full-time employee of UN itself.
No.
You're under this agency.
You
yeah?
keep earning your salary back in your country, and there you are given
Okay.
some subsistence, some allowance
Okay.
to be there.
So people shouldn't frown at such jobs because it might not be directly UN, but it could be through some other.
Yes, of course, it
Some
provides it provides the background, and you gain experience for which you can be
Yeah.
able to advance. And for my case, I think I learned more about how to apply for the UN core jobs while I was already UN police when I was there, and I think it made it a bit easier. Not very easy though, but prior to that, I had tried like 4 applications, and I thought I was doing a right application, but it was missing. Nobody ever looked at those. But after I had got some bit of training, coaching, and knowing the inside, I found it was a bit easier to arrange your CV, and then it can be able to be captured.
What are some of those things that you remember that made a big difference in the way you applied before and after, when now you had that insider sort of information?
Of course, like the applications, one time I thought beating the deadline would be one of the good things. I see a job which is ending the following day. I just put in application, so I should not miss. And at times being too wordy, you are too wordy, but talking nearly things which don't, which are not aligned with what you are applying for. And I think that is what I realized, that I had been applying. I knew my skills, but I knew them myself. You have to refine them and make sure they come out in the document which you are presenting, to be able to market yourself. To show what you have done, what you have. You see, previously I thought that it's more about the paper qualifications, but the UN is more on, actually most of the jobs, I believe, more on the experience. What have you done before?
And how does it relate to the job application that you are applying for?
Yes, what you have done before and how it relates to the job. Yes, and I think,
So actually, I had a consultation with someone called Prosi, who on Instagram, she is called I Am That Uncensored. She works with Face Edigo. They have a consultancy company where they give advice on like CVs, LinkedIn profiles, scholarship applications, all kinds of things. So I did have a one-on-one with her actually, and I think it's totally worth it. If you're very serious about this, you should go and talk to them, and they can give you the right advice. So one of the things that I remember she mentioned is that she showed me actually job adverts, let's say, of UN jobs, and then she showed me the clothes where they say what they need. So maybe they need, I don't know, let's say they need someone who's good at writing, or good at making project reports. And then you yourself in your CV, you have to look and see where have you done project reporting. You may find you've not even put it there, but maybe you actually have always been, this is a core skill that you have. So you have to indicate the things that are on the CV, on the job application, job advert, should also appear in your CV. As long as you did them, of course, don't lie, but bring out the experience that you have that they are looking for. Because these people have a lot of applicants, so they don't have time to waste. So also you have to give it enough time. Don't just do anything, just randomly writing and then just sending.
Exactly. It's better you give it time, look at what they have advertised, there is the job description, there are the required competencies, then you focus your CV, and the CV should be focused to the job application. It should be adjusted. You adjust it according to the job. As you have actually rightly said, you don't tell lies, but you make sure that the features which are within you, your background, you are able to point them out. Otherwise, nobody will know that you are a competent person.
Yes, no one knows what you've done.
Yes. And it is that background that determines much more. Actually, if it was to be for qualifications, I had personally wanted to apply for a human rights job because I knew I had done masters in human rights and passed it. with masters, with the first class.
Yeah.
And I knew that that one, I should be very marketable. But all over my CV, people, they kept looking at it and saying, oh, yeah, you have that qualification, but where have you done human rights? Say, but in police we are dealing with human rights. Say, no, not that type of directly dealing with human rights we mean. We want people who have documented, people who have been involved in real human rights protection and all that. So it's the job you do.
It's a job. So you might have a qualification, well and good, but try and get experience in that. Otherwise, what is the point?
Yes,
Yeah.
regardless of whichever level, even if you start, the person who has a certificate in human rights or diploma in human rights and has been working in human rights is likely to be picked better than you with human rights masters,
but only theory.
but just only you only have paper. Yes.
So I think that's very encouraging. So don't also limit yourself to your particular thing that you studied and you see it written on human rights and now only look for that. Try and open your mind that you can probably find a way that you can find a job that you can go for if you open your mind some more. And then the other thing I think people would want to know is where exactly do you go to apply for these jobs? Which websites?
Okay, we have uncareers.org. That could be that is the main one where you can get the UN jobs. And you know, the UN system is wide. There are so many organizations within the UN. When we talk about agencies like WFP, UNICEF,
World Bank,
World Health Organization, all those organizations, each of them has its website. They can be reached on their own website. On their websites.
WHO has its own.
Yes, and you will find they have their profiles, structured profiles, which you can just fill in information and it is simplified. And
as profile becomes like your CV, you don't have to attach a PDF.
No,
it's like putting your CV on their system.
No, you don't attach anything. And you know, for most of these sites, they don't even require you to attach your certificates. You just mention them. But you know that in the process,
eventually,
you will have to be, they will have to be produced. You will have to be evaluated and even background checks, because there are some countries where you find some documents can be sold on the street. And
some countries will not mention.
Yes, I will not mention NASA, but each country you will find there are a number of countries which may have documents which are not really, which are doubtable. Yes.
Okay, so I wrote down here when you talked to me, when I asked you about it before, and other websites you had said, you said UN Jobs, you said Inspira.
Yes, Inspira,
and then
yes.
You also said, WHO, World Bank, like other websites.
Yes.
Of the specific agency. The other thing, so we've talked about where to go to apply, the advice you have for applying, and then the pros. I think you should tell us more about the pros, or maybe people don't need to know more pros. You've told us
the
pension.
Pros? Yeah, the pros, because I think for me, the UN has a handsome payment, because if I consider myself how much I was earning in the Uganda police, and I had reached nearly the topmost ranks, but what I was earning was like a tenth of what I got to be paid. So meaning like you get the payment of the whole year in 1 month. So it's then that I was able to take care of the family and feel a bit comfortable. I'm feeling financially a bit stable. Yes.
And how long, you told us you applied many times before you actually started in 2008, but tell us how many actual years, when did you first start applying for UN jobs?
Oh, the first time was in 1990, I think 93. 1993. And somehow in 1993, I got a job as a UNV in Liberia. I was supposed to go in 1994. But somehow, because the communication that time was difficult, we had not yet got we were not using emails. I had not used an email. I didn't know what an email was. This is the appointment which came straight to the post office. They would write. You'd receive hard documents. By the time I received the document, I think it was like 3 weeks to the expiry, and I had to go to UNDP making consultation. The information was generally not available. The information was not generally available, and then that's the time there were issues in Liberia, Charles Taylor. Then I could keep watching news, and I got scared. I said, how am I going to that? Somehow I felt like withdrawing. It's not such a rosy environment all over, especially in peacekeeping. That time I was scared, and rightly so. But later on now I've realized that even when we are reading on this news, when you see what you see on the news, UN has special protection measures. We are not such, they are harsh conditions, they are dangerous conditions, but the protection measures which we do, but mainly what is my job as a security advisor, doing risk assessments and make sure that people are not exposed to unnecessary risk. So otherwise, that time I missed that one, that opportunity, but the other one now came much later.
That was yours, I think.
Yes, which I prefer actually. I am happy that it came much later.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what would have happened in that country, because there was chaos, there were problems. But we came back to the same country, by the way, which was now in 2005, December. That's when I went there. Yes.
Okay. So you first applied in 1993, and over 10 years later is when you actually got the job. So I think also there was need for perseverance and patience, and keep on trying, but you never know, because if it's meant for you, eventually you'll get it. But you have to keep trying, don't give up.
Yes. And I think for me, why I feel my situation, I am happy with my situation, is that actually, like you said, 93 to 2008, it was like 15 years later that I got the job. And the time I was getting this job, my last born was already 12 years old. So my last born was at school. At times, the mission life can be hard, especially for young families. Young families, at times, it can cause separation. You find people, wife, your husband is somewhere. It's a hard type of life, and kids grow without the parents. Yes, for me, I think at the time I left, when Silas was already 12, and it was a nice opportunity.
So that's another cone, I think, that it can be difficult for families, especially if you're going to places which are not family stations, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
most of the UN has been in the non-family duty stations, the peacekeeping missions, and the hostile environments where the family can never be allowed because of the risks.
Yeah. So can you tell us the other stations, the other places you went to? Because you've mentioned Liberia, you've mentioned Central Africa.
Yes, Liberia, Central Africa. Then I worked in Afghanistan. Yeah, for 2 years. And in Somalia for 4 years. First as the UN Department of Safety for Security, 2 years. And World Health Organization, I was their country advisor, security advisor for 2 years also, before going back to the UNDSS in Central African Republic. Yes.
What about Chad? You never worked in Chad?
Chad was the first one.
You hadn't mentioned it.
Oh, I hadn't mentioned it. That's where I went in 2008. Yes, immediately I left the Uganda police when I was public relations officer, and I just moved, yes.
So in terms of cons, I think you've mentioned it being tough on families, but also going to harsh environments, like going to those tough countries where everyone is like Wanange, Somalia, wherever. We started even watching Al Jazeera, which we never used to watch, because we were like, what if that is out there? Now we have to see. It's also tough on the people you leave behind, because they also get a bit worried.
Exactly. Actually, where counseling works, the counseling is supposed to be for even the families. And in most cases, for us, when we are defining the UN personnel, we include the UN staff and their dependents. Their dependents are also considered UN personnel. Yeah, because the risks. You may recall when we were traveling to Turkey, we had to do security clearance for you. When you were traveling to Nairobi with me, you recall, we had to do security clearance for you. And the UN takes care of the whole of families. So counseling, the stress is not in one individual, and people are working and belong to their families.
Yeah.
So you find the families at times get more stressed because for you, you are in the real situation and you know how protected you are. You can imagine right now we are here seated in Ibanda. There will be, if some news item broke out in Kampala, that there has been a bomb blast in Ibanda, everybody who knows we are in Ibanda will think we are seated at the spot where the bomb was. And yet for us also we will see it in news because it is a wide area. So that's why I was saying our people, the United Nations personnel, are normally protected. And that's why they invested in the security advisors who are highly professional like us.
Like yourself.
Yes, and we ensure that the people are safe. When they are not safe, then we advise what other means to use to make sure we can support the communities where we are supposed to serve.
Okay. The other pro that I have that you haven't mentioned is healthcare. You get better healthcare because remember we had insurance and now we could just easily get medical treatment anywhere.
Yes.
You hadn't mentioned that.
Yeah, healthcare, it's one of the biggest. The UN cares for the employees.
And also education as
yes.
well.
Education, education grant. Education grant, I think most of you passed through this system, where there is a big, good percentage which is reimbursed. Healthcare, there is Cigna, it was called Van Breda then. You are taken care of with a good package, insurance which can cover up to, for example, 250,000 per individual per year. That is
in US dollars or
US dollars.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's mostly pros, really. It sounds like it's mostly pros.
Yes,
would you say it was worth it?
But of course, the pros are there. But I mentioned the
cons as well.
The cons where the family can get stressed. But for me, in my environment, especially having gone when the
children
you were already old people, I think it was worth it. It was worth it. I can afford to sit here and relax and receive my grandchildren because of the job which I went into.
Okay, we thank God.
Yeah.
Come asimwe.
Asimwe munonga.
I think that's that from us. I hope you have been encouraged. I hope that you will persevere, don't give up, you can do it. And yeah, let us know when you get the UN job. Comment below and tell us, and also come and share your experience. And if I know words for someone out there who wants a job, who is looking for the job, specifically UN, and if I know words for them.
Indeed, in recent days, there are lots of materials. There are lots of materials to read. In those olden days, we had to be told by somebody how to apply for a job. The first UNV job I was about to get, you had to complete a form from UNDP. But right now, forms, materials to read, guide about UN, and all organizations, artificial intelligence, I think even these days it's even going beyond that people can even, the system, internet can compose even an application for you, unfortunately, but there will be finally a test on you. You as a person, they will test your competences. Are you able to make it? Are you the very person? And what is your background? You should be able to defend yourself, and they look at you whether you really have that good experience. Not the paper only, no, but the experience. And I hope anybody can get it. I never knew anybody.
That's the thing I wanted to ask. Did you know
I didn't know anybody, any individual that I had to connect me or to go through any person. It has been through merit. I've remained on merit, and I think anybody can make it.
So you don't need to know someone who knows someone.
No.
Because you see now, if I get a UN job and I come and start telling you about how I got a UN job, people might think it's because my dad, what? But actually, it's a disadvantage, you had said.
May-
It's a
may-
disadvantage.
Yeah, there is.
Disadvantage if you
Actually,
know someone.
the UN is a very wide organization. They don't encourage. Actually, it is prohibited for you to work in the same organization with your family member.
I think you can see.
Yes,
So,
and you have to declare if you are given a job. You have to declare if you have a relative, so that it is known. And if they are giving you the job, they give it to you having weighed what it means for the organization.
so I'm waiting for you to retire, and then as you exit, maybe I shall be.
Yeah, you'll be working on your CV and
On my experience,
yes,
my
as a-
related
in-
experience.
Yes, as I
Yeah.
just quit. Of course, even right now you can start declaring because they know that I'm about to finish my turn.
No, I also still have things I'm doing also as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
We had forgotten to mention one thing, which we are now inserting now. I thought it was very important for people to know, which is about language, UN languages.
Yes, the UN has 6 languages, and whichever person has more than one language, it becomes an advantage. Personally, of course, why I believe I got advantage over a number of other applicants is because I had to be taken to a French-speaking country. I had some background of French. It was not so good, but it was the level where people can build on, and so languages are very, very important if you are dealing with the international community. Yes, and wherever you go, whichever country you go into, you will find there are different languages. They are francophone, they are anglophone, and you should have an idea. You should try to balance and include languages in your. Yes.
How old were you when you first learned French? Were you?
No, this one I was in senior one. That is
Okay.
1979. Let me see. I was 13 years.
Oh, so you were young.
Yes.
So you were young enough. I was having hope for myself.
Yeah, it's never too late. It's never too late. You can start the language.
So even me, I was trying, but I had given up a little bit because I don't have that experience. I learned a little bit of French in S1, but not so much. So I'm just starting now at age 33. At 32 is when I started trying a little bit, but I know it's never too late. So don't be worried about your age. I'm now talking to myself, I think, and anyone who had the same idea in their mind that now they're so old.
Yes.
You can always just learn. And it seems like in the end, you don't necessarily work in French or another language. Isn't it in English?
Yeah, well, a lot of work is in English, like where I'm working, but you'll find many reports which have to be made.
In French? Eh?
There are some reports in English, but understanding the community with which you are working, depending on the nature of job. The technical people like engineering, you will do it in English for wherever. But if you are going to deal with the community, if you are dealing with security, you are dealing with the community, civil affairs, politics, you have to talk to people.
Yeah. Even Melanie, who I made a video with, who is working in Geneva, she said she also knows French and she thinks it helped her.
It does.
So also with someone else I talked to who also works in a UN job, she told me about knowing another language being so important. Actually, her herself, she didn't have a UN language, but she said it was limiting her. She was already in a UN organization, but because she didn't have a UN language, it was limiting her growth. So she was now trying to learn another language. So that's something I thought we should not forget is language. So I guess that's that. Thank you so much. If you watched this video up to this point and you liked it, give it a like. Let us know below your thoughts in the comments below and make sure you're subscribed. Bye.
Bye.